I was always at the Comedy Store, and also I was just too polite. Like,
Author Lorna Landvik on libraries, peace marches, and her Hollywood novel, Best to Laugh, now on Democratic Visions.
The career I wanted in LA had already been taken.
By who?
Meryl Streep.
To no one's surprise, author Lorna Landvik's annual weekend shows at the Bryant Lake Bowl Theater in January sold out. Minnesota's other beloved humorist sat down with producer Jeff Strait in mid-February to talk about Landvik's recent novel, Best to Laugh.
Your new book, Best to Laugh, is not an autobiography, but it's based upon what you learned out there in California. It's about a Korean-American lady, Candy Pekala.
And that was a great surprise.
And she grew up with her grandmother, got a chance to get a sublet in Los Angeles. And a lot of you, I would imagine, is in that. The flavor of the place, the kind of people and all that. I just loved it.
Well, it is the closest autobiographically I've ever written. And you're right, Candy is not me at all, but she shares the same dreams. And I did put her in situations that I was in, and I put her into the most fabulous apartment that I was in, Peyton Hall, which was old school Hollywood. You know, your fellow tenants would be people walking around, you know, I was Veronica Lake Stand-in, you know, and it was just, I loved it. Clark Gable had a pied-à-terre there, Claudette Colbert. It was so old school, embossed palm trees on the wallpaper, and our landlord was a British actor who was up for the part of Errol Flynn.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
And you just watched his career take a tumble when that movie never happened. I think that's the biggest lesson I learned in Hollywood, that, you know, it's a place for big dreamers, and for a lot of people those dreams don't come to pass, but I think it's what you do with however things work out, be they your dreams as you envisioned or the shards of your dreams. So Candy has a recurring dream in which Peyton Hall is being torn down and she's squatting in one of the half torn down buildings. And that actually is my one recurring dream. I still dream it 4 times, I would say, a year.
Is the building still standing? Or
no,
it is gone.
We got eviction notices 3 years after we had moved in, and we formed a tenants union. We tried to get it declared a historical landmark. We were down at the city council meetings, and it didn't pass. So now it's a condominium, and I was just in LA in November, and I drove by, and I sit at the intersection, well, as long as you can sit before somebody starts honking at you. And, you know, like so many good things, they don't value what's there. They tear it down and think, okay, there's more money here, and more money is better.
Candy Pekala, that's not a Scandinavian or Norwegian name, it's a Finnish name. What do you like about your character?
I like that she's in comedy, and I think that was my big impulse in writing this book. You know, men don't have, they don't own comedy, although there are a lot of men who think they do. And when I was doing comedy in the 80s, you know, in LA, it was a little different. It's gotten better, but there was a lot of sexism. I honored that time. I honored all the funny women that I worked with, and I really wanted to write about that time and Hollywood.
You grew up knowing you would be an author or hoping you would be an author, not so much a comedian or an actor, correct?
To be a writer was my very first goal, and that goal came to me in the first grade when I learned how to read.
The first grade?
Mm-hmm. And I learned how to read with the Dick and Jane books.
You sound like someone that can plan their lives out, you know.
Well, I just thought, wow, I'm so captivated by seeing Spot jump, and I wanted to create that kind of magic. But I also have always liked to act, so I've had a kind of two-pronged career, and the writing means the most to me. If I had to choose one, I'd definitely choose the writing, but it's just fun to get out of the house and be in front of people after having been, you know, with a book, and it's just you and the characters, and you hope they see the light of day sometime. But
now you write at home, correct?
I do, although I used to write a lot at libraries.
Okay.
But now they've gotten too loud. you know?
Oh, yeah, loud from what?
Nobody whispers and do.
I want to be frightened by librarians.
I know.
You know?
You want to be shushed in a library.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I want the other people to be shushed
I
even
know.
more.
You know, I wrote when my daughters were growing up, so I'm very used to writing amid a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
And, you know, you just kind of focus that out. But I tend now to write mostly at home just because it's close to a coffee maker and, you know, the refrigerator.
How many parts of the country have you gone to talk about Best to Laugh?
In Best to Laugh, I went to primarily the West Coast and a lot of Midwestern areas. Haven't been to Rome or Paris yet, so I'm hoping that'll be on the docket.
Is it going to be translated, perhaps?
Wouldn't that be great? A Best to Laugh.
It would be,
yeah.
Well, Best to Laugh was a phrase Candy Pekala, your heroine, took from her mother, a Korean lady.
Well, her mother was a Korean war bride, and I think that's, for me, the fun of writing fiction, because I had no intention of having a Korean war bride be this character's mother, but that's who she turned out to be.
Yeah.
Her mother's new to English, so she's not really confident in her superlatives. So she might have said better to laugh, but it comes out best to laugh. And I do think it's a pretty good philosophy.
The departed mother's advice serves 20-something Candy quite well. Landvik's prose here is as textured and human as the Hollywood tribal lands. It swims with humor, sadness, savvy, and a bit of snark. Lorna, on almost every page there's something quotable. Someone said about actress Taryn's facelift. This is how you talk about facelifts. It was said her visage now wore permanent expression of mild surprise. That's it. Your first book, you wrote a lot of it in your neighborhood library?
I did, the Nokomis Library. And that was my childhood library.
Okay.
After the Longfellow Library was closed and relocated. I go there a lot to pick up books. I don't necessarily write there. The comforts of home are a little more conducive to writing.
Does your celebrity status affect your privacy?
I'm
when you're
constantly barraged by requests and fans. No, I'm kidding.
No.
No, it's just, as I said, libraries are a little too noisy now. They were sanctuaries, but I think now libraries have to appeal to such a wide group of people to stay open.
They're media centers,
exactly,
aren't
and
they?
community centers. Anytime I go to a city, I'll go to their libraries just to, poke around.
You have a favorite one in New York?
Well, I like the big one with the lions on Fifth Avenue.
Oh, sure, that's a good one.
But they shush. I found they shush people there more than.
I like that.
I know. I think because New York has so much noise, they know we value our quiet.
Lorna, in 1986, your husband and your young daughter joined the Great American Anti-Nuclear March from LA to Washington.
Well, we had just had our daughter, and I had a dream that I was Gorbachev's temp secretary.
Yeah,
and he had just come into power. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew what the relationship between Reagan and Gorbachev was. And in my dream, a nuclear bomb had been sent to Russia. And, I was just Gorbachev's temp, so I couldn't tell him, don't retell. I was in a frenzy, and I woke up and I thought, what have we brought this little baby into? And I don't live by my nocturnal dreams. If I did, I'd be institutionalized. But that dream definitely was the first step in literally millions. We heard about this march. We decided we're going to go. We got rid of our house. We joined 1,000 people in Griffith Park. The march set off from there. We were stranded in Barstow, California. Beautiful Barstow, I like to say. And all the funding fell through. So over half of the marchers left. And then it became a very grassroots movement. Farmers would come out with truckloads of produce. People would invite us into their homes because the shower trucks had gone too. Mm-hmm. But we still had our daycare bus, school bus, mail truck, food trucks, sanitation trucks. I mean, it really was a movable city. And you were to work 2 days on the march, and you could work anywhere, and so we generally worked on the daycare bus. And then the other days, every morning you would get a mimeographed map of the route because we had an advanced team make that up, and it was really funny to see all those adults with that sheet of mimeograph, you know, inhaling.
Oh,
and
I like that stuff, yeah.
So a real easy day, like if you saw, oh, wow, 11 miles, sweet. And then a rough day was like anywhere from 25 to 29, I would say. And you would walk, and sometimes the march would stretch out so long that you would really feel as if you were by yourself. You couldn't see somebody ahead or maybe far away. But usually you walk with people, sometimes your friends, sometimes your partner, and then oftentimes strangers. And you walk a day with somebody and you would hear their life story. And there were a lot of life stories. There was a World War II bombardier, Korean War vets, Vietnam War vets, all of who felt, I worked for war, now I want to work for peace. And, you know, from the time I was in 9th grade, I have participated in protests and demonstrations. The first one I was on was it was called Walk for Development. It was to raise money for
Where was
food.
that?
That was in Minneapolis when I was in high school.
Okay.
And I mean, I think it's a wonderful right that we're given as Americans to assemble and tell what we think is wrong.
Are you still active in that political way?
I wouldn't say I'm active, but occasional. I went down to the Capitol pro-union rally that I attended. I was on a couple marches against the Iraq War, but I can't say that I'm out there every week. Well, I think it's very easy to feel that you're powerless, especially in today's political world. To combat that powerlessness, you have to do something. I mean, people ask me, well, what good does going on that march? You know, what's the point? And my glib answer is, well, there has been no nuclear war, so you're welcome. But that's how I felt on, especially that 9-month march, because we would be greeted in towns by school kids standing along, you know, the roads, and you never know who you might touch who thinks, whoa, I could work for peace. I could do something phenomenal. It might inspire somebody like the next Gandhi or Martin Luther King.
What primary school did you go to?
Morris Park.
Junior high school?
Nokomis Junior High.
High school?
Roosevelt.
What do you like most about the Twin Cities?
I think the Twin Cities are so physically beautiful, so artistically open, so full of those Scandinavians that I love, and yet such a diverse culture. When I went to school, boy, everybody looked like me. And then in high school, we started seeing kids who didn't look so much like us, and it was kind of thrilling. And then when my daughters went to school, I met Hmong kids, Somalians. We've got everything except an ocean and mountains. But who needs an ocean and mountains when you got so many lakes?
Where do you like to grocery shop?
I really like Cub Foods. But when I'm fancy, I go to Lund's.
You make a point of being Norwegian American.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't hear much from our group.
I'm very thrilled to be Norwegian. I look to Scandinavia as a model of how to treat people. I think Scandinavians, especially Norwegians, are hysterically funny. It's just that it takes a long, long time for them to warm up, and so they can feel free to.
Are you talking about Minnesota Scandinavians or Scandinavia?
I'm talking about the ones I grew up with.
In Minnesota here? Okay. Best to Laugh and other Lorna Landvik novels are available at indie bookstores, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon. Lorna's upcoming author and stage appearances are listed on our website, lornalandvik.com. That's lornalandvik.com. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Democratic Visions is independently crafted by volunteers, mostly Democrats, from Eden Prairie, Minnetonka, Edina, and Bloomington.